Oh wow, that's aggressive. That's the hood is very aggressive.
You look like a rapper, about ready to spit rhymes. A
I'm
tiny wizard in the house.
about to go fight Apollo Creed.
That works. That works.
Adrian!
This is why I got a distance.
Adrian!
You can't say fight Apollo Creed. Poor man's dead.
I know.
So sad.
It was the words were leaving my mouth like, ooh, too soon. Too soon.
Too soon. Too soon. All right, so we're agreed to do the state of play.
Yeah, hold on. What? Yeah. It's you haven't seen Rocky, so it doesn't make sense. So
She
Kayla
hasn't seen Rocky?
No,
What
she
the
hasn't
fuck?
seen Rocky either. Kayla came down here, she's doing laundry, and she just walked in on me going, it's like supposed to be like the sweet part of the movie.
Yeah.
He
it's
fights
sweet.
the fight, and he doesn't
Don't
care about
spoil
the
it
fight.
for her.
She's never gonna watch it.
Don't spoil it.
She's never gonna watch it.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good. It's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast. Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and you, dear listener, for whatever reason, have decided to listen to another Horrible Gaming Podcast, but I am not alone. Usually I am never alone. With me is...
Neil, a.k.a. a tiny wizard.
Yes, not the newest white rapper on the block.
No. Well, that's the thing. It's a very visual thing at this point, but when I got onto the video call, it was very much...
I might use it as a bonus or an opening. Honestly,
I can't even do this as a joke because I can only see the bottom third of my screen. I can't even see myself.
The fluffiest assassin from Assassin's Creed.
It's like breadsticks instead of the hidden blades.
So.
Assassin's feed.
So what are we talking about today? Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone from one crappy show to another. All the companies do this thing every year between usually it's a little bit later, but yeah, between January and March they all usually do their first announcement shows. We've got Xboxes now, we've got Sony's to talk about the state of play. We're gonna talk about it, so might be an early show because it was pretty lackluster, but we'll get into that. Before we do, we've got to thank the people who make this possible. Above our ugly mugs, you're seeing a custom graphic that was provided by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And then the theme song for this show and all shows here at Old Man Gaming is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother Nick Van Sudgers. We thank him for that. We will be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with fan interaction. Horrible Gaming Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with the most important segment, our first segment, that is fan interaction. That's where we take the comments you write on YouTube and anywhere we remember to check out for them, and we talk about them, we read them here, we riff about them, all that fun stuff. So right off the bat, just want to point out, last week my wife subbed in for Mr. Neil. Neil was going through some personal ish. But you can see here, Neil is back. I do want to just say, I'm sure she won't listen to this, but I appreciate Melissa showing up and stepping in, and I think she did a great job. Absolutely great job.
It was all kind of relatively sudden. So,
and I know that Neil has not had a chance to listen to the episode. Not that he listens to any of the episodes, but you should go back and listen to that one, because we ended up switching the subject, so because she's kind of more got the law experience. So
Yeah.
we evaluated Pokemon v Pal World and the law from the law point of view that she has, and it actually was a really interesting conversation. She had a lot of points of view that like we take for granted because we're not in that kind of world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I just appreciate her being here. Some of the comments have to relate it to her. She actually read them all. I will try and endeavor to use my mush brain to remember what she said. But first we had Jackie Rakes. Loving the cup, Melissa. Melissa showed off the cup that I used. Wonderful, created with love by Jackie Rakes. She's on Facebook. She does custom tumblers and cups and coffee cups and stuff with custom pictures on it for very affordable prices. Go to Facebook, search Created with Love by Jackie Rakes. She's phenomenal. I don't have it in front of me, but she also made me an old man gaming mug. And if you want to get the same design, I guess that's the first merchandise right there. We accomplished it. Just go. She can put it on the mug. It's totally fine. But yeah, I had bought Melissa a anniversary cup with a bunch of our pictures and stuff on it, and so she showed that off. Moving on, Jason. I'm definitely not a dermatologist. I ain't that crazy. Yeah, can't help with the dermatology thing. Jason then continued, what is this Discord thing? I don't remember what we were talking about that he's exactly joking about at that particular moment. I'm sorry, Jason. It's just memory. He then continues, Sparkit looks sort of similar to Pikachu, but not really, definitely not exactly like Pikachu. And that was one of the things that we discussed towards the end of our conversation was there is this article on IGN where they kind of rounded up the most the most topical offenders of the this one looks like a Pokemon pal from Pal World, and I just showed him to Melissa because she had a lot of different points of views on it. But you know, upon looking at them, they really don't look that similar. Like, yes, if you put Pikachu next to Sparkit, you definitely can see some similarities, but they are well different enough to be their own thing. Same with all the other ones too. And what's crazy is Melissa's a legal person who doesn't play video games. So all I was doing was showing her pictures of here's the PAL one, here's the Poke one. What do you think? And for the most part, she said these don't look close enough alike. She can't imagine that a judge does anything with just the appearance anyway. So
just to jump in on that, that's
go
one
for
thing. Over this past week, there's been a lot of news stories about that sort of stuff, like everything going on with Power World and Nintendo saying like they're looking into what's going on with Power World and seeing if they can, go after them, because I'm sure, even though the Pokemon company is technically not Nintendo, they're basically Nintendo.
Yeah.
They will full steam ahead anywhere that they can make an argument for it. They will. And I will say there was a TikTok video that I saw that was just side-by-side comparisons of some of them. Some of them are pretty egregious, but
I disagree. Once you really look at them, because I've seen all the egregious ones, and at first glance, I agree with you. Like, first glance, I'm like, oh, that looks exactly alike. But like I said, like, that was the list that I was showing to Melissa, and she's like, yeah, when you first look at them, they look very alike. But then once you, like, go in, you're like, okay, there's plenty of differences between these two creatures,
Oh, yeah. So what I find really interesting is... So I had been listening to this YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely not our podcast.
Yeah, not ours, not at all. Legal Eagle, and
Melissa listens to him a lot.
Yeah, and they were talking about on that the Steamboat Willie thing, and the important distinction is to not present itself in a way that makes you associate that intentionally. It can look the same, it can look similar, but if they are calling them like something, I don't know what you would call it, but something that is so similar to Pokemon and calling it like the name that's almost identical. And if they didn't have guns in there and they had like Pokeballs that were cubes instead, like that is when you would be towing that line. But you're looking purely at the creatures part of everything, not necessarily the games. The games are entirely different.
Entirely different.
100% entirely different games. It
Yeah.
just so happens that they draw a lot of similarities.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that we really need to realize, and Jason said this at one point too, and I completely agree with this. If Nintendo was going to go after Pal World, they would have. Like, if you look at everything else Nintendo has attacked, they go after it within like 24 hours. You know what I mean? They have like lawyers and law dogs just ready to like bring down anybody. You look at the Nexus mod that somebody put up for Pal World to make the pals look like Pokemon.
Oh, straight up Pokemon. Yeah, I saw that.
It got stopped within 6 hours. They didn't even get to put it up. They announced that they were going to do it. He got a cease and desist and a lawsuit filed against him.
The dude straight up said, Nintendo is coming for me. Please help.
Yeah. So, like, you can't, like, I feel like if they had any leg to really stand on against Pal World or Pocket Pair, that lawsuit would have been filed. There would be a cease and desist. We would already be talking about, like, who's going to win in the courts, you know? I'm sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and on top of all of that too, like a point that was made. I forget what I was watching. It was one of the things I was watching, but they had made mention of, you know, basically all games, all forms of art, media, this, that, and the other. At some point, they either started as or will become a derivative work.
Yes. Yeah.
You can only create so much stuff that's unique. Sure, people are calling this like Pokemon with guns, but it is taking the gameplay ideas from Pokemon and rolling it into a survival game separately off on its own.
Well,
and that's the thing is I don't think that there's enough overall in whole to really go after. I mean, they'll probably try. I'm going to say that. I think they're going to try.
I think if they were going to try and go after them, they would have gone after them already, like without a doubt. I think that the other thing that's interesting, and this is something that Melissa pointed out, is in these IP cases, you know, they go in front of judges that don't even really understand the material. Yeah. So, like, the law is much more about the discovery and trying to find like proof that somebody willingly violated that. So they would be looking through emails of like, make this look more like Pikachu or make this look more like so and so. Right. That's what they would be looking for. Other than that, like this game, the only other leg they have to stand on is the pals looking like Pokemon and potentially having stolen assets from Pokemon. They didn't. I think it's clear and present that they didn't. They definitely did. They make some look similar, sure. But I also want to point out that Pokemon has what now? 2,000 Pokemon out there. How would you not accidentally copy one of them if you're making a cute monster catching game?
Some of them are like literally like chandeliers.
Yep.
Keys.
Yeah. So like... there's just no way that you can't like in this kind of a case. They'd be looking for willing proof that like the people like knowingly in writing said make it like Pokemon, and I don't think that there's gonna be any of that. And I think that Nintendo's not gonna take that gamble, neither is the Pokemon Company. I think the Pokemon Company more or less released this statement to try and get people to stop yelling at them and giving death threats to people. And again, you didn't listen to last episode, but fuck those people. If you are making death threats...
I listened to that part. Okay. Like I said, there was like a 6-minute window where you did newsy bits. I listened to that.
if you're making death threats because of a fucking game, like touch grass, like get the fuck out of here.
And we've talked about this so many times.
Ridiculous.
Because
Absolutely
over the
ridiculous.
years of us doing this, there's been constantly something happens. I forget, it was the most recent one was the one Last of Us actor who played a villain, and because she was the voice actress for the villain. Like, people are like, oh, fuck you, you know, go kill yourself, this, that, and the other. Like, chill the whole fuck out.
Chill
like,
the whole fuck
seriously.
out.
Like,
It's a video game,
there's
man.
absolutely no reason for it. There's and that's just another reason why games can't get taken seriously, because you get just like
crazy people.
I don't know, a keyboard warriors is the only way that I can really describe it.
Yeah.
Going and, you know, running their mouths.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, it was an interesting discussion all the way around. But yeah, I don't see it. I don't see them looking that much like them. Like, again, first glance, oh yeah, that one looks like that one. But then you go in for a closer inspection, you're like, these are different things. They just look similar, you know. Okay, so continuing. Jason, then again, you get drops whether you kill or catch. So you get meat even if you just catch them. This is true. That's totally weird. But in Pal World, if you catch the creatures, you get the same drops that you would if you killed them. And again, a lot of the game is about killing them and eating them. So that is weird. For me, though, I'm not going to waste my ball on them if I don't want them. So I'm killing them and I'm eating them. This is the way it is. Because the ball, you got to craft everything in that game. And I don't want to keep crafting shit until my brain falls out of my head. He then continues... It was Luke Combs, the mug thing, and Melissa, thanks you for pointing that one out. She couldn't remember which country singer it was with the whole IP issue. That was a really interesting part of that conversation. You should definitely go check it out. But
what about what was that?
One of the takes that Melissa had, which was really interesting, is because, you know, we've kind of have the mind of like, Jesus, back the fuck off, Pokemon, or back the fuck off, Nintendo. Melissa actually was like, look, while I agree with you on that, IP, like intellectual property law, it's one of the only laws where you have to actively defend it. So, like, if you don't defend your intellectual property and you let somebody copy it, the next person who comes along that you don't want to copy it can say they let them do it. So you have to, like, go after them. And there was this Luke Combs, who was a country singer. There was a guy kind of like Jackie there was a woman who kind of like Jackie just made mugs, like custom mugs, but she was straight up just putting Luke Combs' face on these mugs and selling them. Okay. She got hit with a lawsuit. She didn't even realize she got hit with a lawsuit. She missed the court date. She got fined $250,000.
Oh, Jesus.
Luke Combs didn't even know about it. Finds out about it on TikTok from her. And basically, like pays her legal fees. Like, I'll pay the $250,000. I'm sorry, I had no idea. I'm not trying to go after my fans like that. And then the lawyers were like, hey, I mean, he got mad at the lawyers, and the lawyers like, hey, man, we got to do this because I know you don't mind when she does it, but you're gonna mind when Pepsi does it and doesn't pay you. And if she gets to do it, Pepsi gets to do it. So we just go after anybody who does it. So, like, it's one of those things where, like, even when it's like, this isn't really hurting anybody, why are you going after it? Like, you have to kind of fight for it. And I never really thought of it that way, honestly. It was an interesting take on it, personally. And then to continue, Jason, again, you can't convince me, Game Freaks hadn't been watching Pal World like a hawk and would have pounced on anything they could have already. And there was. I thought you had said this on the last one. But yeah, I totally agree. Like, if they were going to do something, they would have done it. Without a doubt. I mean, this was already the third most wish-listed game before it even came out. You know that they were staring at it. Everybody was already calling it Pokemon with guns. You know that, like, if they could have stopped it, they would have.
The trailer initially came out, what, it was like 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's another point to that. You know, it would have happened by now. They would have stopped it if there was any. So at this point, it's kind of more in line with what you were saying. Is they have to find more so that there was fuckery, than exactly anything else.
Well, and Pokemon Company has to bet that there was fuckery. You know what I mean? Right. Or they're throwing money down the tubes at a lawsuit that they're going to lose. You know, so like, I don't know that it's worth it for them. Jason then says, it's always nice to breathe. It is always nice to breathe. I don't get to do it as much as I'd like to. And then finally, William...
Breathe more.
Yeah, just don't. Thanks to all the sickness and whatnot. Finally, William Hohen. Hi! Exclamation point. Hello, Lady Melissa. Long time no see. Redfall should have looked less cool, no? I feel it's bad that a bad game is made to look cool in trailers. But I understand it's the point of a trailer. Anyway, your comment on devs on camera and gaming shows came out perfectly clear to me. In the end, it's just not everyone likes to be in front of a crowd on camera, and it's not their job to do it. It then continues, great Pal World discussion. It was nice to have Melissa's input on that subject. Thanks for the show. Hashtag love for Neil. I told everybody to send you their love because you were going through a hard time.
Thank you.
Melissa did say thank you for the kind words to her. I really appreciated her being on. I thought her insight on this subject was really good. On the first topic, yeah, I don't want the games to trick me. I don't want the trailers to trick me. But from a standpoint of looking at the directs side by side, Redfall, I got excited for Redfall with that direct. I did not get excited for any of the games at this direct. They failed in that aspect, which that's what those things are supposed to do, you know? Then on the second subject, I thank you for that. I'm glad it came across that way. Neil, you didn't listen to enough of it to know, but I apologized. I kind of felt like after listening it back, I was a little... My rant about the game developers came off more like I was insulting them dressing weird and less insulting the idea of them leveraging them and their weirdness against us. And that's what I apologize for. Again, I don't care if somebody dresses weird or acts weird or any of that. These shows, when they do this, they come off to me like Microsoft is specifically leveraging them in that way to try and get legitimacy with us. Like, I almost feel like they're dressing them weirder. You know, they're forcing them to be in front of the camera. And I don't care if anybody dresses weird. I'm super weird. I dress super weird. Like, that's not my problem. My problem is I feel like they're trying to use it to trick us.
It's the same reason why I hate Big Bang Theory.
No, I don't think it's the same reason.
No, I personally have always like
Big Bang perpetuates a stereotype that I don't think it should.
And that's the thing is like so many people have told me like, oh, you know, you probably watch Big Bang Theory. Oh, like no, I cannot stand it because it almost feels like it's like hint, hint, nudge, nudge. That's a reference that only you're going to get. The people who don't know anything about this, they're just watching it because it's on TV at 7 o'clock.
Oh,
but not that. You. Like, that show's always rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know.
I get it.
Maybe I'm just overreacting. But
I don't think you are. I've watched Big Bang Theory multiple times. I enjoy Big Bang Theory. Not because of the nerd stuff. I don't like the nerd stereotypes. I point that out to Melissa all the time. What I do like is they do have this really good character dynamic in it, aside from all the nerdy stuff. Like Penny, Leonard, and Sheldon are really interesting characters if you remove the nerdy parts. Like they're just interesting characters, and they actually build those characters up over long periods of season. Like basically Sheldon's an autistic person. Like, and the way they handle him and his like slow like roll towards empathy, I think is some of the best character work in shows. At the same time, I'm also one that's sitting at the screen every time they play that fucking god awful Magic ripoff, saying that's not what collectible card games look like. I played collectible card games my whole life. It doesn't look like that. It doesn't play like that. It's ridiculous. And also, we don't all have all the nerds. Like like Star Wars nerds are not also Star Trek nerds and comic nerds, and you know what I mean. It's like they have to be nerdy in everything. I'm like, that's not how it works. I'm nerdy in a lot of things, but there's plenty of things I don't nerd out about anymore.
And from my own personal experience, the people that I have come across in my life that are nerds for all things even make me feel uncomfortable. So
yeah. All right, so that's it for fan interaction. Shall we move on to the talking point?
Yes.
All right, we'll be right back with the talking point.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our talking point, and much like our wonderful Xbox counterpart just gave us the lackluster developer direct, Sony was like, ha ha ha, lackluster show, hold my beer, and then decided to put out their state of play for January 2024 just this last week. And it's not good, right?
It was a show.
It was a show
that happened. Don't get me wrong, like there's some stuff that kind of made me go, huh. But outside of that, it's not what I was expecting, and it's not what I wanted.
All right. Well, let's start at the top then, I guess, because I'm gonna point a fact to you guys. Neither one of us actually watched the show. We pulled the Neil had a lot of stuff going on, and I just didn't wanna. So we pulled the whole let's go see what the revealed is, and we watched all the trailers separately, and so we know what was revealed, but we didn't actually watch the presentation. So. Unlike our usual coverage of these, we won't be talking about the presentation itself, just what was released in it. So right off the bat, we start with big sigh.
I was going to say, get the stupid fucking shit out of the way.
I mean, good God, is PlayStation, like, I don't want to get on the rant yet. Death Stranding 2 is officially titled. I mean, the first part of the show was Kojima-Con. 2024. Kojima announced two games, right? Death Stranding 2 is officially titled Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. Okay, all right. Do you have anything to say about Death Stranding 2?
I don't think it needed a 10-minute trailer.
It was 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Kojima, to put it into context, the show itself was, I believe, was 45 minutes long. Kojima was about 12 minutes of it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Because then they talked about his new action espionage game, which we did not get a trailer. We did not get one little whit of this. And I want to point out that he did this not long ago on an Xbox show. Remember? Where he came on and he's like, I'm developing a game for Xbox. I don't even have a name for it, but I'm developing it. Just want you Xbox people to know. Bye. Look, I hate this guy. I hate this guy so much, Neil. Like, it's a full, deep loin hatred for this man. He wastes 12 minutes of our time on a sequel. I don't know who's asking for a Death Stranding sequel. If you're asking for a Death Stranding sequel, that's fair. I'm not going to come down on you. I played Death Stranding. I have a review of it on the channel. Thanks to one listener who forced me to do it. And it had some gameplay mechanics that were truly awesome. That being said, what brought the game down was the insane, crazy, egotistical, over-the-top Kojima's bullshit story crap. So now we're going to get a second one of those. And now he's making a new espionage game called... excuse me. Sorry, I cannot stop belching today. What was it? Fizzant. Physant? Fizzant.
Sure.
Physint.
Yes.
And he says it's a stealth espionage game. Which, what is a stealth espionage game to a man who invented a game with babies that fight darkness in Time Rain. I don't know what an espionage game from a guy like that looks like. Like, is it an espionage game where you play like a mouse taking on a dragon and you have to hide in the carcasses of, like, you know, fetuses? Like, I have no idea.
I think the big story with that is the fact that now that Kojima's off on his own, he's got his whole new, like, brand new thing with Death Stranding. He's going to go back and retread. The second this was announced, the whole internet said, oh, spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and no mincing of words. That's exactly what it's going to be. I'm surprised he didn't use the phrase, like, alluding to, like, it will be a spiritual successor to my previous works. There's something like that. I'm surprised that term wasn't used. Like, it's straight up and down. It's what it is. And
I will actually be surprised if it's that close to Metal Gear Solid and not some butt fucking sane storyline. Like, seriously. Like, I think he's so far beyond anything grounded at this point that, like, a stealth espionage game to him is just really some lunatic bananas stuff. The other thing is, how does he have a team big enough to work on all these games? I want to understand that, because
you mentioned that, and that's one thing I thought immediately.
He's now working on OB or OD or whatever that fucking weird one is that just his faces. He's working on movies, he said. He's working on this new Fizzant. He's working on the second Death Stranding and an unnamed Xbox game. What? Where? How? How many people do you got in Kojima Studios? Because I don't think it's enough to work on all these high-end games. I just don't think it is. So, no. I don't know. He's just the biggest con man in the absolute world, in my opinion. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about that one, or should we move on?
Not at all.
All right, I want to move on to one that I'm actually kind of excited about. This trailer actually got me a little bit going. I want to see more from it, but this is the... they did a deep dive trailer on Team Ninja's Rise of the Ronin. Team Ninja being the guys who made Ninja Gaiden. They are making a PlayStation... Is it PlayStation exclusive? I think it's PlayStation exclusive. Right?
That I don't...
Not 100% sure. One. It's called Rise of the Ronin. And it's like an open world action game. But it's set in, like, this kind of weird 19th century period where Japan had opened their borders and people had kind of come in, so they still had people running around fighting with katanas, but they had people with guns, and they had soldiers, and they had flamethrowers, and all sorts of crazy shit going on there. And it just, I really liked this trailer. I liked what they showed. And I think it could be a really interesting game. I think it was one of the few things that I saw at this state of play that actually I was like, oh, okay, I'm down. I'm down for that.
Yeah, this sort of stuff is something that, like, I will observe from afar. This genre, I guess, of, like, something like an old samurai movie sort of thing, never really got me. Like, even Ghost of Tsushima, like, I appreciate it for what it is, believe me.
Right.
It's just not my cup of tea. I would sit there and watch somebody play it if I wanted to watch something, but I don't think it's something that I'd go out of my way to sign up for, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm not going to be, like, first in line, right? But, like Ghost of Tsushima is still one I'd like to play if it ever comes to PC. Like, it looks cool. It's interesting to me, and I think this one is interesting to me. This is a little bit more like Horizon for me. Like, this is going to be one that, like, I get later on special when I don't have anything else to buy, and I go, oh, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but it still looked interesting. It looked like they were doing something a little bit more, I don't know, just interesting to me. There was a lot of stuff at this show that looked very Japanese narrative, here it is, and then it's gone sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Which brings me, we then had a Until Dawn remaster for PS5 and PC this year. That's not really anything we have to talk about, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those, it's like a dark picture type game, right? Where it's all like choices and stuff. I think it was nominated by us in one of our categories, I think narration this year. So that's cool for people who are into games like that. I don't think that's really going to do anything for us.
No.
Next one is this Stellar Blade Deep Dive release date announced. April 26th. I will say one thing this show kicked the shit out of Xbox on was a lot of release dates. A lot of release dates here. We're getting the Rise of the Ronins in April. We're getting Stellar Blade in
April.
We're getting Stellar Blade in April. We're getting Rise of the Ronins in March. You know, they were giving us release date after release date. I really enjoyed that part of it because that's what I want to see. Stellar Blade does not look like anything I would ever want to play or I'm ever interested in.
Stellar Blade is one of those that if it one day would show up on Game Pass, I would give it a shot because it's got that stylish action sort of flow like Devil May Cry.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
That's my jam. But I mean, outside of that, like I definitely wouldn't be in it for the story or anything like that from what I've seen.
No, and I've seen a lot of stuff about this. Like I feel like PlayStation's like banking a lot on this game because it's been at a lot of their shows. But then I don't hear anybody talk about it. I don't hear any.
I forget it exists. I forget it exists until it gets another trailer.
Exactly. So I don't know what this is gonna do for me. And also, I want to say this now before we even continue. Sony, man, more character creation based games, man. What happened? Like it's like they're taking away our character creators all the way. Like everything's so goddamn narrative in this show. And like I know you're very into narrative. I don't hate narrative. It's just I like a good character creator. There, like especially with these open world games, but like it doesn't look like there's a character creator on the Rise of the Ronin game, which confuses the hell out of me. And the Stellar Blade, another one. They're both kind of open world kind of games. Why don't we get a character creator, you know?
Yeah, there's some things where like there are definitely tons of games out there where character creation, I feel like you could absolutely do it. You could do the default of, hey, this is what the default character is, but you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah,
because games like, think of back like with Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X, the main character's name officially was like Titus, but you could make it be whatever the hell you wanted it to be.
Right.
You know, that was like the early stages of that.
Yeah.
And that used to be a thing to where, hey, this is the default ... but you can do whatever you wanted. Even with like Baldur's Gate, I didn't realize the default name for your character is Tav. Until shortly after we started.
I agree, and I'm gonna go one further. For me, it attaches me to the character more. It attaches me to the main character more when I get to decide what they look like, what their name is. You know, like it just puts me more into that driver's seat. When I'm playing Link, I'm like, it's just Link, whatever. I feel more like I'm watching it. Again, I don't want to watch things. I want to play them. You know what I mean? I want to play every aspect of it. And I want some more character creators, and Sony seems to be like pushing away from that, which is weird because everything we keep hearing about Sony is that it's more like live service. We need to get in on that, you know? But we did get a lot of like more narrative driven stuff here. Moving on, we go to Capcom shares another Dragon's Dogma 2 trailer. This is another one that's coming out on March 22nd. Again, point for Sony on all the release dates. Really appreciate that. I feel like Dragon's Dogma and and by respect, Dragon's Dogma 2 is gonna be a very Zack-like game, but I don't know anything about either one of these games. So I don't know anything about them to get excited about them.
If I remember correctly, the original was very Soulsy.
Oh, was it? I heard it was open though, like open world, like RPG sort of thing. And
to my knowledge,
yeah, which is a me sort of thing, but I don't know. Do you have anything to say about Dragon's Dogma 2?
No, I want to go to the next one.
All right. Well, before we do, I do want to say that the world seems to be a little bit more into Dragon's Dogma 2. I do see a lot of stories about that. When I see a lot of stories about a game, it means that those stories are getting good click rates, so they're making more stories about it. So it looks like that one's going to be one of the bigger hits for Sony. But yes, let's go to the next one. This was the other one that actually I was like, oh, okay.
That was one of the ones that I was very, very surprised with because I wasn't expecting anything like this. The Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, it's a repackage of Sonic Generations, which truthfully is one of the best Sonic games
It's good.
within the past. God, that game's like 12 years old now, which
It's
is
good.
disgusting to think about.
I have some small problems with it, but it's good.
Yeah, but from there, not only is it going to be a remaster, but they're going to put Shadow content in there, and they showed a little bit of it. And from what they showed, I think it's going to follow stuff from some stuff from Sonic Adventure 2, which I know you and I are all about.
Yep.
And a little bit from Shadow the Hedgehog as well. Probably going to have stuff from Sonic 06 as well, because you have to have enough to actually, you can't have just like 2 levels.
So I think they're going to go one further from what I was seeing, and we'll actually get to see more of his backstory that we haven't seen before. Maybe we'll get some actually original content in there for him. My biggest problem with Generations is while it is a great gameplay experience, creatively it's nothing. Like it is a remix of all of your favorite levels. Basically what they did with Generations is, and the plot is nothing too. That's one of the things that bothers me. Is the plot is you're at a birthday party and you get sucked into another dimension, and then you're in this other dimension trying to stop the bad guys, and then like you just go back to the birthday party at the end. It's like it's like a Christmas episode, you know?
What's funny, what I thought was funny was the game was for, I believe it was the 25th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, the idea of it being a birthday party was all fun, tongue-in-cheek. But it did that thing that I cannot stand with it's all based around, like, time travel. And a time travel plot that exists solely for you to go back to previous things, because I can't stand. Like you mentioned, there's nothing new to it.
There's nothing new
except for the final boss, which is,
not really that new, honestly, when you really think about it. The whole thing is like, they take everybody's favorite levels from all the best Sonic experiences they could find, and then they remix them, and then those are the areas that you travel to through the game and the world. What's really weird about it, though, is each one of the little areas that you go to has a rival fight, which is one of the coolest parts of the game.
Yes.
Because they're super fast. They're like, you're running on like a track and you're fighting while you're running. They're great. Like one of them's Silver you fight, one of them's Metal Sonic, one of them's Shadow. So how does that rival fight then turn into him getting his own game? Like within the confines of the story, I'm very interested to see how they kind of shoehorn the Shadow parts in to give us like a new experience there without breaking any sort of continuity. But yeah, that comes out in autumn of 2024. We didn't get an exact release date there. But yeah, I was actually kind of excited about this. So, just author's note on this. I've never actually played Generations. I watched the full... Really? I know it's a good one. It's just not one that I ever was in a position to get my hands on. And then I watched the Game Grumps recently, like in the last 2 years, played through it. And I watch all the Game Grumps stuff. So I watched them play through it. And I was like, oh, that is one of the good. Like, so that's how I know how everything happens in that. Yeah. But with Shadow in there and the new content, I might actually pick it up this time around if it's not too expensive. This needs to be a discount title, though.
Yeah, it definitely has to be a 40, or, I mean, nowadays 50 is considered, quote, discount.
Yeah, yeah. So anything else to say about Sonic Cross Shadow?
No.
All right, moving on. Silent Hill, the short message is dropping later today. I don't know what this is, and I did not watch this trailer. Sorry, guys,
It
I
is
missed
PT. It is straight up and down PT. There's no way around it. Nobody can tell me otherwise. It does have a little bit of an interesting I did watch the trailer for this because PT was such a phenomenon when it happened. It's very much like the horror aspect is kind of told through text messages effectively. But yeah, it was free to play, dropped that day, and it was a surprise, which I can appreciate. Not my cup of tea, but I can appreciate.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, definitely not my cup of tea. I'm not a horror game guy. So let's move on to the next big one.
I want this.
Oh, I could care less about this.
I want this.
You were actually excited about this?
Yes, because I've been starving for more BioShock. And there had been rumors for literally years that they're working on BioShock 4. It's coming. And this game, Judas, which is basically it's Ken Levine, who worked with 2K to make the original BioShock. Eventually, they all split off on their own. This is their stab at a spiritual successor, basically.
Okay. All right. So I appreciate your position. I do not want to insult you. Like, I don't want to insult anybody who is excited about Judas. It is Ken Levine. He did make the BioShock games. To me, nothing new is done here. I watched the trailer. I didn't see anything special. I didn't see anything interesting. The story seemed actually kind of cliche and trite. It almost seemed like just like the easiest subject matter that you could do a game about right now, especially for a guy who, like, his first 3 games are about kind of crazy off the wall stuff. And while they do get to some like humanitarian stuff in the games themselves, but like this is about a city at the bottom of the sea, and this is about a city that's flying and stuff like that, and like crazy stuff. And this just looked like some more like the government's always watching, your privacy isn't your own bullshit that turns into an apocalypse. Like, it doesn't. I didn't see anything in this trailer that excited me in any way, shape, or form. There was nothing new. The story wasn't new. It just seemed very like. It seemed easy, man. It just seemed easy to me. It seemed like a paint by numbers easy plot that anybody could come up with. And from a guy who has supposedly written, like, look, I'm not the biggest BioShock fan. So in fairness, I may be a little bit jaded here. But from a guy who's written 3 of the biggest storyline whatever games that have ever been created, this didn't look like anything special on the narrative front to me. So I have a hard time getting excited from what we saw. Granted, it was only 1 minute and 51 seconds. Maybe they just didn't cut the trailer the way to show you anything really new or interesting. But do you see where I'm coming from in this, at least? Like, I'm not trying to bash you because you like it.
And what's interesting about this is I actually am excited for it for all the reasons that you mentioned, because this is another story of, hey, gamers want this specific game. We're asking for this game. We're demanding this game. Another BioShock. Everybody wants another BioShock, basically. And we're not getting it. So what happens? Somebody else has to come along and do it. It's easy. It's right there. Just do it. Nobody's going to do it. So somebody else came along and just did it. There's some instances where doing just more of the same is totally fine, because it's been BioShock Infinite was 2012, I think it was. We're 12 years away out from that. It's time for another one, I personally think. And I don't think you necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. It's when you start every 3 years, maybe just pumping out another one of the same exact thing. Like, let's be real. I've voiced my concerns about Horizon becoming this, and it seems like it's going down that path.
Most things do.
More of the same thing. It was fine with 2. They can't do it with 3 in about a year and a half from now.
I see your points. Personally, I still think that it would have been more interesting if this was BioShock 4 to me. Like, this just...
Yeah.
It's not even that it's not... I don't know. It just seemed lazy. Like, the story writing... From what they showed, the story seemed lazy to me. Not necessarily, let's not reinvent the wheel, so much as... everybody doesn't like the Big Brother state, so let's just do that, you know? And I...
Right.
That was my problem, is it just felt so regurgitated from what I saw. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what he brings to the table. Next, we had V Rising is coming to PlayStation 5 in 2024. Fine. Doesn't really affect me one way or the other.
I kind of got hyped for a second. I don't know why I thought it was a new Castlevania game when I saw the trailer.
Well, it does have vampires. So.
Yeah.
Dave the Diver is coming to PlayStation. And it's also coming with a Godzilla event, which is hysterical to me. So, what I think is really interesting here is not so much that Dave the Diver is coming and that it's with Godzilla, but the fact that now it will be on every platform but Xbox. Which is very interesting.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. It makes me wonder if, like, Xbox wanted it on Game Pass and they wouldn't allow it to be on Game Pass or something. Because it's already on Switch. It started on PC. Now it's coming to PlayStation as of May 2024. But we have no announcement that it's coming to Xbox. No inkling that it's coming to Xbox. I think that's a really interesting development, you know?
Yeah, I think it's the more interesting part of that is the fact that Godzilla is going to be a part of it. Because you think about
what kind of sushi can you make out of Godzilla?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is, like, you know, Dave the Diver, this little indie game, relatively indie, you know, whatever we want to do with the conversation on that.
It's not indie at all. But
is then, oh, by the way, got actual licensed IP Godzilla crossover. I thought it's kind of interesting.
It is interesting. I just think it's very strange that it's not coming to Xbox anytime soon. We then had Zoneless Zen Zero is in development for PlayStation 5. This is the next Hoyoverse game. The guys who made Genshin and the train one. It's a gacha game. It's another gacha game.
Yeah, it definitely is. And the thing that I hate about this is the fact that before I knew it was a Hoyoverse game, I was watching it, and the animations for some of, like, the special attacks that they have are like, I was like, oh my god, the animation for this is fucking amazing. I'm like, what is this game? And it's like ZZZ was the logo. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I saw Hoyoverse. I'm like, you fucking kidding me.
You know,
I hate that. I hate that. There's games that do that get you so hype, and then it's like, oh, by the way, it's this thing that you can't fucking stand. I think, what was it? Black Sand, I think, was the last one that I saw that was like that.
Black Sand.
I think it launched like 2 years ago or something.
It sounds familiar.
It was just like this crazy epic, you know, epic fights, epic this, that, and the other, and it's just your bog standard MMO. Hit button as the same button over and over and over again and watch meters fill. Like, I was like, okay, well, fuck me then, I guess.
Yeah, I think that I mean, I played Genshin Impact a little bit just to try it, and they're really pretty interesting games. I will say that for a gacha game, you don't really get better than those games, honestly. Like, they're actually very interesting to just play on their own. Like, Genshin kind of plays a lot like Breath of the Wild, weirdly. Like, there's gacha aspects, but there's a lot of... The thing that I don't like about it is you cannot understand the plot to save your frickin' life. Like, none of them even talk normal. It's just, you can't even gather what you're trying to do or where you're coming from or what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I do like that they make those games a little bit better now, but yeah, it's just another bullshit loot box game. Then we got Metro Awakening is going to be a VR game. So the guys who made the Metro games are making a specific VR shooter. I don't really have anything to add to that. I mean, great for VR. Then we had Legendary Tales for PSVR 2 announcement. I don't know what Legendary Tales are.
So
combat, magic, swords, bow and arrow, and more fantasy environment.
So I honestly never heard of this before, but from what they showed of gameplay, I thought was very interesting. I want to see how they handle movement, because that's the big thing with all these sorts of games is in VR, it's just teleport to spots. You're not actually like moving, or else, you get motion sickness. But from what it showed here, you could almost it was like John Wick, the stuff that you could do in this. Like literally, like if dudes running up on you, you can like grab their sword and like punch them in the face, and then grab them and slam them against the wall and throw them down. And like you can take, if you have a sword, you can throw a sword at a dude and then turn around and like use a guy as a shield. Like it's got potential for VR, and it takes a lot for me to say that.
Well, Asgard's Wrath is a 10 out of 10. I think that's the one that like broke the wall. I think we might actually start getting some good VR games, because I watched a review on Asgard's Wrath and it made me a little bit jealous that I get motion sickness in that fucking thing, Yeah. So like, I think maybe we are going to start getting some really good VR games coming out soon. Then we had the new Foam Stars trailer ahead of its launch next week. Foam Stars is basically like the from what it looks like to me, it looks like what?
Splatoon.
Yeah, it looks like Splatoon, but cum based. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. It just looks like the whole thing is about spraying everybody with cum. It literally looks like a jizz fest. Every time I see these trailers, I'm like, do they know what they're doing here? Is this on purpose, or is
they
it
know what they're doing?
What is this? This is some weird. This is like porn without anybody doing anything to each other. Why do I still feel dirty here? Right. And then finally we had the Helldivers 2 trailer, the official report for Duty. That's launching on February 8th.
Duty.
Helldivers looks interesting. It looks like a games as service shooter. I mean, more power to them. I kind of want to try Helldivers. I'm not going to lie. I've seen a couple of trailers of it. It looks interesting, but I have learned to wait on games as service shooters. Yeah, all things.
All things, everything, even the things that you think you're safe. Yeah, all things.
Well, and that's it. That's the entire state of play. I will say this. They definitely had more games than Xbox did, and they definitely had more dates. So if we had to compare them side by side, I would give the points to Sony on this one as to who won. But if I'm asking myself if this show really moved the needle for me, it didn't. It didn't at all.
Yeah, not really. I mean, with some notable exceptions for sure. But at the same time, these early shows are not supposed to be the ones that are like the real the real headline makers. It's the Summer Fuck Fest that really does that.
Yeah, I guess. I still feel like if you're gonna do one of these shows, you should have some hitters, and I didn't really see any hitters. Like, do we need a full show for any of these reveals? Like, just put out the reveals. You know what I mean? Same with the direct. Right. Like, why are you wasting 45 minutes of my time for these trailers? Just give them the IGN and shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? And I will watch them, and that will be it. Like, don't make me tune into some weird.
The purpose will have been served.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, the same thing gets across. I don't understand why we're doing this, but yeah, that's it. That's it for the state of play. So we will head to the news. Ladies and gentlemen, did you watch it? Did you not watch it? Did you think it sucked? If you did watch it, do you not even care? Probably not even care. But yeah, we'll be back with the news.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the final segment of the show, the news. It's where we collect headlines that don't necessarily deserve a talking point, that we want to riff about, that we want to just tell you about, tell each other about. Neil has 6, I have 5. Neil, take it away.
The first one was just something very interesting that I came across. Somebody decided to eat every single ingredient and food in a playthrough of Skyrim to see what happened. Surprising literally nobody, they died. So,
That's
yeah,
great.
there you go. If you ever wondered.
That's great. I didn't put this on my list, but did you see that story about the person who died in Baldur's Gate on the first choice of the game?
I didn't read it, but I saw it.
They used, one of their characters had like wild magic, and they used guidance on the first one, and then it summoned an elemental and it started attacking them while they were in the conversation, and it killed them all. Like it was hysterical.
I have a Baldur's Gate story for you later, by the way.
Okay, all right, noted. My first one is ridiculous. So we get a developer direct from Game Pass. They show us so many games, and then they show us their special secret game was Secret of Mana, or Visions of Mana was their secret game. We talked at length about why is this a secret game, why is this whatever, and it was on an Xbox Direct, and guess what? It's not coming to Game Pass. Like they announced, it's not coming to Game Pass. They never meant for it to feel like it's coming at a Game Pass, even though they've always said that every game that they show comes to Game Pass, but nope. So their secret hitter for their own Xbox Direct is not coming to their subscription service.
Oh God! Like, I don't get it. Like,
No,
it had no place, and that just leads furthermore into what I was mentioning when we were talking about this. Because the last time they did this, it was the big surprise was Hi-Fi Rush, and surprise, it launched today. They are trying to catch that lightning in a bottle by doing literally the entire antithesis of everything that they did with that. Yeah. Said, oh, here's a game that we're going to show on our showcase. Yeah, these Microsoft games are going to come to Game Pass, except this one.
Except the secret one, and we're not going to give you a release date instead of giving you the game right then and there. You know, like it was ridiculous. Your turn.
So, next one I have for you here is strange as shit.
Okay.
This is kind of the running theme for all of these. So this one's a little bit of a story, and it's a little abstract. So I'm trying to retell it the best I possibly can. So apparently, it is possible to reconstruct Game Boy Advance ROMs by causing them to crash and reconstituting them into an MP3 file and converting it.
Wow.
So basically, this guy did a video on YouTube. He forced his Game Boy to crash and recorded what happened. After about 4 hours of that crash, the data output into a weird format that almost seemed to be like sound. He put it into a conversion program, basically, that converted the MP3 into a literal playable ROM. How in the whole shit does that even happen?
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Some of the stuff that happens in computers.
And it's like, and that's not like, and it's weird because it's not like something that's like, oh, isn't this a coincidence? Like, it has to be formed. It has to happen that way. It has to be made that way.
Right. Yeah, that's super weird. All right, so mine, this is a downer, but we've all been seeing this. Suicide Squad is just an abysmal failure, but it gets worse. It gets worse because if you bought the premium edition, and you crazy ass motherfucker if you bought the premium edition, but if you did, you got 3 days of early access, or at least you thought you did.
You thought you did.
When you went to boot up that early access, you got met with one of two things. The first being you can't get in because the servers are shut down, and sorry for the inconvenience. Or You got in before they shut the servers down because there was a glitch in the game that literally completed the game for you. What you would do is you would go in the game, you'd press start, and then you just get all the achievements immediately, and you'd be in end game instantly. So they
Did you hear what
immediately
their fix was?
no, I'm not. Yeah. So everybody right off they shut down the game for I think a full day. They didn't know when it was going to come back.
Yeah.
So these poor motherfuckers who paid extra to get early access lost a day of early access. And they were like, well, do we get anything? Are we going to get refunded some money? Oh, no, my friend, you're going to get $20 in-game currency. That's right. You can now buy $20 worth of bullshit skins for King Shark. Congratulations. This game has ruined Rocksteady's entire legacy. They made 3 of the best superhero games ever made. They took this fucking giant piece of shit and they just spread it all over those games, especially considering the fact that this game is part of that same universe. So this game is I don't want to reveal spoilers, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's not good for Batman. And if you really enjoyed your playthrough of Batman through those first 3 games, don't play this. Don't play this. Because it ruins that entire legacy. It ruins the legacy of the company. They've dumbed down their combat. They've tacked it all into this weird games of service thing. And from what I understand, there is absolutely no thought or intelligent basis on any of the missions. They're just shoot this thing, protect this thing, fetch this thing. And it doesn't end. And it doesn't end. It doesn't even have a viable ending because they wanted an end game. It's just terrible.
And thank God that the news came out that this isn't actually Kevin Conroy's last thing that he did.
Yeah.
Because holy fucking shit. Yeah, and you know what the absolute worst part about everything that's going on with the Suicide Squad is? From all the reviews that I've seen of it, because I've been toxically following this, I want to see the train fire.
Right.
But every single review is the story and some of the things that they try to do with that side of things is great. But they're doing the thing that the thing that makes me not want to do anything with live service games is it is a live service game because for no other reason other than we want it to be a live service game for infinite monies, basically.
Yep.
And they are going out of their way to be like, hey guys, this isn't a live service game. I mean, it's got events that are going to be happening and updating, and there's an end game grind, and your grind is for fractions of percentages to make your numbers better, and
you're looting.
It's just kind of this thing, you're looting and just swapping out gear, but definitely not a live service game. No
It bothers me so much too, because a good live service game can be one of the coolest gaming experiences out there, and superheroes could be a good live service game, but instead, well, and that's the problem. Marvel's Avengers had the same issue. I told you about it. That story is one of the best Marvel Avengers stories I've ever witnessed, but it takes place in that game. You have to play through that game to get it. I think that one of my biggest issues is they always tack it. They just think, oh, it's got to be the Destiny thing. We got to do the Destiny thing with this. Look, Destiny doesn't work for superheroes. It works for Space Knights. Great. It doesn't work for superheroes. You have to come up with something more dynamic and interesting. And that's what bothers me is the problem isn't that it's a live service game. It's the problem that every company out there, somewhere along the line, just decided that live service looks like Destiny from stem to stern. That's not how you do a live service game successfully. You do a live service based on your subject matter, and you could do it good, but they just don't do that. Drives me absolutely nuts. So my next one, let's talk about Avowed for a second, because Avowed is not looking great to me. So they showed that kind of lackluster gameplay at the developer direct that we talked about. made it seem like it was like everything new and it was just stuff we had seen from other things. But now it's coming out that we're seeing like, oh, there's less in there than you think there is. There's no romance option for any of the companions. And look, there's plenty of players out there who don't even do romances in games. And Outer Worlds didn't have romance. So that's not really a problem, but it's one less thing to look forward to. They also said that of all the races that do exist in the Pillars of Eternity world, you will only be able to play a human or elf, period. Yeah. So, like, what's bothering me here? Let me talk about what's bothering me here. Because Outer Worlds, if you you compare them, right? You have to. Mm-hmm. Same company, same kind of thing they're doing. Outer Worlds, they only showed you, like, look at this cool thing you can do. I don't remember ever hearing you definitely can't do that, you definitely can't do that when it was coming out. You know what I mean? They were only showing you new things they were doing. Whereas Avowed seems run-of-the-mill when they show us stuff. And then they spend half the time telling us the things that we think are in there aren't in there. You know? And while part of me is like, I'm glad they're managing expectations, another part of me is like, you've made a lot of design choices that are taking away any of my excitement for this game. You know?
Yeah. There's definitely a way. There's a way to temper expectations. And, you know, set the standard of, you know, what it is that the game is actually going to be. Other than, hey, just so you know, like, you want to present this game as a good thing, like, that you're going to have fun with, but you can't, won't, don't, will never be able to. Like, okay, well, great. Maybe we can find that out for ourselves when we find out, you know, tell us how good the game is going to be. I mean, this is one of those instances where it's like, you know, they're so good at it. I don't know why they're just not lying straight to our faces. Like,
yeah, I'm really confused too, because like the stuff they've showed us, like when you look at the Outer World stuff that they showed you the character creation. The character creation was like, it's one of the best character creators I've ever played with personally. Like, it just is. Like, I love how just making a character creates like a different experience every time you go into that game. You know, and they showed that off. You know, they showed off some of the other stuff. With this, I feel like they showed off very run-of-the-mill stuff. They pretended that it was new stuff that we'd never seen before, and then they just spent the entire time doing damage control. When people were like, "Well, can we romance people? No. Well, can we play anything? No, you're gonna play a human or elf." You know, and I don't know. They're in a tricky spot with that game for me because I'm having a hard time, because part of me wants to just bash it because I'm like, what are you doing? But another part of me who hates overhype is like, well, they're managing our expectations. I don't know. Like, the things that I was excited about on that game just keep getting taken away. Plus, I still don't have confirmation I can play that in third person. I do not want to play a game like that in first person. I just don't. So, like, I will be out if that's the only way to play that game. But that's it. Your next one.
So, speaking of absolutely terrible and horrible things, fantastic. We've not heard the last of them.
Oh, my
because,
God.
Of course, we haven't.
I saw this story. I didn't even put it on my list. Yeah.
So, Fantastic, the makers of The Day Before, claimed that their game was a victim of hate campaign, basically. They said that the game wasn't actually bad, and that reviewers of the game messaged them separately afterwards and said, hey, yeah, absolutely, we really actually loved it, but we wanted to shit all over it so that way we could get more followers. And then they also went ahead and told people to go follow their socials to find out what their next big game is going to be. Apparently, they forgot that they shut down. On top of that, because this was from like a week and a half ago. This was supposed to be on the last show when we did everything. I was supposed to bring this up. Even more has come up about that.
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, I've read both of these.
Apparently, people came on who had no fucking clue what it was going on, because they were told that they were developing for a literal entire different game. 3
different games, in fact. I read that entire article. at one point in development, they had 3 completely different games. Like a build for 3 completely different games.
Like,
plus, it's also come out from a lot of the sources that they were fining people, firing testers randomly as examples, not even for good cause. They were making people work insane hours. Like, we're not talking like, oh, you got to work a little overtime. Like, there were people who would beg for an hour to go home to take a shower and then had to come back, like that kind of stuff. Like, absolute, like, not even crunch, like slave labor at that point.
It's beyond. Yeah, it's literally, yeah.
And it was just like, it was absolutely the worst. And they would just randomly fire people. They would randomly fine people. They would fine people for not getting certain levels of work done in time. Like, take money back from their paycheck. So, like, please, somebody find those 2 fucking brothers that own Fantastic and put them in jail for all the fucking time. Like, seriously. These guys conned us. They're fucking shitheads. Get them.
I will literally never work at a job that docks me pay.
Oh, my God.
For any reason other than if I am a salary employee and I don't get my hours. That is it.
Say what you want about Americans. I would never, like, I would be like, I'm out, man. I'll go work at McDonald's. They'll at least pay me. Like, fuck you, dude. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. I cannot believe that stuff. But, yeah. Moving on to one of mine. So, this was after the State of Play, which is weird. They didn't do it at the State of Play. They did it kind of separate, but on the same day. And I'm all in on covering this game now, just because I've started covering the madness of this. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 has a release date.
Yeah.
It's releasing later this year. It actually has a release date. I didn't mark down the release date in my notes, but it's releasing later this year.
I'm sure.
And they did a gameplay trailer. Now, this is after the original studio that had been working on it got fired from it last year in a weird tweet where they were like, they're not on it anymore. These guys are on it, but here's footage of the new game. What's even weirder is the original Bloodlines, which I didn't play, but a lot of people I know did play it, was a very open experience. You make your own character, you do your own thing with it. You can kind of do anything within the world. Kind of almost that pen and paper in digital form kind of feel to it. This game, you have to play a specific character. That character is a character named Fire. That character is definitely a lady. Not any problem with ladies, but there's no choice in gender. And then of the 14 clans in Vampire the Masquerade, you only get the choice to play 4 of them. Like, that's the only character options. You don't get to build the character. You get to choose one of 4 classes, period. And that gives you certain different abilities. It's first person, which we all know how much I hate first person platforming, but there's plenty of that in this. They showed off stealth elements, investigation elements, some conversation elements, which looked interesting, I will say that. But it was just weird to me that they did this, that they only made it 4. They took a lot of choice away from the character creation. I don't know. It just seemed very strange to me that how they presented it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. This is damn near the next Skull and Bones, honestly. I don't know why they're even trying to still deal with this. It's almost like Dead Island 2 that, kind of hopped around between different developers. My only hope is that it comes out to
Dead Island 2 was pretty good. So
I was going to say, it's the relatively okay that Dead Island 2 was.
Yeah, same here. I just I'm a little bit bummed because, especially lately, I've been playing a lot of tabletop World of Darkness, and I was kind of excited for a modern day World of Darkness game that's decent, and the World of Darkness games just suck. They have not been good since the original Bloodlines. Like, they released that werewolf game like 2 years ago that was just a freaking nightmare to play.
I remember that.
There's a story-based vampire one that I heard was just like okay. The White Wolf just cannot make good video games lately, and I don't understand how they can't, because it is a pretty rich source material, but for some reason they can't. So I was kind of hoping for like a decent open world, create your own character kind of vampire game, and doesn't look like we're gonna get it with this one.
Get Larian on it.
Yeah, Larry in your next project. Choo 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 choo. All right, your next one. I only have one left.
Yeah, I still have 3.
I don't know how that happened, but
I think you got 2 in a row on me, but
did I get 2 in by accident?
I think so,
it was an accident.
No problem. Just because we invoked its name, apparently Skull and Bones is really coming, guys, and there's an open beta for it. You know what I think is the funniest part about all of that, though, is they detailed their plans with the roadmap, and they guaranteed a commitment of a whole year's worth of content.
Yeah, we're gonna go for at least a year.
They don't expect it to hang out like
the open beta starts on February 8th. And it goes up until the 11th, because then if you pre-order the premium, you get 3 days of early access, and your progress does carry over, which is nice. So I will give them points on all of that. That being said, I'm very nervous for this game. Again, I think this game could be really good. I do not think that the way they are presenting it to the masses is going to be successful in the long run. Like, I think making this game a $70+ sale to people. And what's sad is I was talking about it with somebody else. I think some of the stuff that they do in the games as sort of a circle with this is actually some of the stuff that I've been talking about. Like, it's a little bit more dynamic. It's not just like an open map collectathon sort of thing. There is actually, like, you get rewards for being a pirate. It's not just like, go here, find guns. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, like, do certain things to build your ships. I like that stuff. I really do. I think this game really has some merits to it. The problem is that the people out there want a certain level of game from them that I don't think it's going to provide, number one. And number two, it just should not be a premium game experience. It's not what it is, especially when you know how many microtransactions are going to be in that game day one. It is going to be super frustrating, and it's going to bury any fun you're having right off the bat.
Especially with how long it's taken to put the fucker out. I mean, let's be real. They've sunk way, way too much time and money into the making of this game that's not going to have the turnaround. I'm not an advocate for this, but they should have dumped this thing years ago in early access.
That's exactly right. They should have, and they should have made it free to play, and this would be a completely different conversation. We would not be having this conversation in the way that we're having this conversation. It would have been a much more successful property, in my opinion. I think that, like, you're trying to market this as the next Assassin's Creed, and it just isn't. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You just can't sell it to people like that. And that's what you're doing. I think that you're going to get buried in just people who are like, I cannot believe I spent as much money on this, and I still have to spend this much money to buy a fucking shirt. You know, I think that's what we're going to get into. And personally, I'm really scared because Ubisoft loves to do these things where they put in, like, gain experience points for money. Because if you do that in this, which is a PvP thing, God, they will get destroyed. Yeah. Like, that's the problem. And again, there are some devs that put some tender love and care into this thing and are really trying to make this awesome. And in a lot of ways, it accomplishes that. I could definitely put a terrible talk together on this game as to why it is actually good. The problem is that it's just going to get buried in money and dollar signs, and that really bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Continue, sir. You take another one.
I thought you said you had one more.
I do have one more, but you still have two, right?
Yes.
Because I skipped you, so got to make it even.
All right. So then going on here to my next one here. This is just dumb, goofy shit. Nintendo is collaborating with Capri Sun for a contest to win an OLED Switch. Oh. They have chosen the worst possible name for this. It is called Slurp to Win. Oh boy!
Like I got some phone numbers for them.
Right, like this didn't get ran by like a board, like another human being. Like, did a 16-year-old come up with this? What should we call it?
Oh man!
Fun in the sun.
Slurp.
There you go. Fun in the sun.
Slurp to win.
Slurp to win. Yes. So
cup those pouches, boys.
God.
All right, my last one is a little bit of movie news. We had debated whether or not Jim Carrey would be returning.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you're talking about this.
Yeah, whether or not he would be returning for Sonic 3. After Sonic 2, he had said he was seriously considering retiring, and that only the best scripts would get him back into it. Apparently, Sonic 3 is one of the best scripts because he has confirmed he will be Robotnik one final time. At least in Sonic 3, so thank God we still get one more Jim Carrey Robotnik. Let's face it, Robotnik in the Sonic movies is awesome. Jim Carrey's awesome in that role. Yes. I think in a lot of ways he carried the first one a little bit because the first one was conceptually a little rough. I think Jim Carrey's performance kind of pulled that one into fame, and then we got the second one, which was the true nerdgasm that we all wanted out of it. So I think that
the third one, I'm sure you've noticed the logo.
Sonic on the Shadow on the big screen. Fuck yeah, man.
I mean that, and the fact that it's the logo for the movie is extremely reminiscent of Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh yeah. I will say this: I hate that I'm such a cuck for this shit. I really do, because I'm on record as saying I wish they'd stop making video game movies because it's gonna turn into the Marvel thing, and then we're gonna get shitty video games out of it. But at the same time, I can't wait to see Shadow on the big screen like the giant fucking nerd that I am.
And Hayden Christensen is apparently set to be Shadow. I saw.
What? I did not see that.
Yeah.
I saw that Kristen Ritter is signed on and everybody thinks she's going to be playing Rouge the Bat, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a couple other people who have signed on. I didn't see Hayden Christensen in Shadow. Okay, yeah. I'm down. All right, well, that was my last one. What you got for us?
All right, my last one is yet again a real bizarre one. This one I thought straight up and down was a hard drive article, but apparently it's not. There's an MIT student named Lauren Ramlam who basically wrote a paper and proved that you could get Doom running on cells.
On cells?
Biological human cells. Basically, how it would work is they would use like a chemical or electrical alteration to make the cells render in a positive or negative, so black or white, to technically be able to run Doom. The problem is, because of how you would have to go about doing that, it would be about 1 frame per 4 to 8 hours, I think it was. So not necessarily playable, but in the continuing quest for the internet of finding out what things can and cannot run Doom, apparently on a molecular or microbiological level, humans can.
Look, I'm going to say this right now, okay? I'm on record as saying a lot of stuff with science, especially a lot of stuff with video games, but a lot of stuff with science is all about coulda and not shoulda, and it endangers us every day. I've changed my mind. It's the doom. It's the doom running on things, people, because this is how demons get made, guys. You're teaching biological cells how to be that weird fucking goat creature with the plasma hand. No. That's a step from it just deciding to be the goat creature with the plasma hand, and then we got hell on earth. Stop putting doom on things before you create doom. Okay? I don't want to be fighting doom, people. I don't want beholders flying around shooting things at my face. No. Stop that. Stop putting doom on things. 'Cause eventually it's going to just make doom. And I don't want that.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. All right, so that was your last one then, huh?
Yes.
All right, well, let's pause this thing and then let's wrap this thing up and go to sleep.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, what would you like to plug?
This.
Okay.
That's about it.
All right, there you go.
Well, I mean, yeah, we keep talking. Stuff is on its way, but
Yes, we are conversating about things, planning things, plotting things, all that fun stuff that comes along with things. As far as me, I'm not going to plug that much stuff. Look, we're up to 421 subscribers. You guys are wonderful. We are less than 80 subscribers away from me having to find out how to do merchandise. Plugging along great. We're doing great in the year 2024, and we'd like to continue to do so. We have tons of stuff on this channel. We have tabletop role-playing game stuff. We have video game stuff. We have stuff all across the board. Let's plays, reviews, podcasts, actual plays, streams, whatever you name it. The fact that we do it and we're basically a one-person team with a couple of other people helping is kind of crazy, the amount of content that gets generated on this channel. So just watch whatever you want to watch, and if something looks good, check it out, Other than that, please, check out my game if you're a tabletop role-playing game guy, single mod on itch.io. It's only $6, and we're working on a setting for that, which we're really excited for, which we're going to try and get our podcast buddy over here to help us with, and his wonderful wife, so that in a role-playing game we can make fun of Neil.
yeah.
We kind of already did that in Sunfish, but
A little bit, yeah.
So we will be back next week, and until then, you guys can contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. You can influence us in all of our shows from there. And as long as you guys keep watching this, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next time. Pause. All right, let's get right into this bad boy.
I was gonna say your short show proclamation definitely went out the fucking
I
window.
figured fans' reaction was going to be long, just because you hadn't been here last week, and a lot of the comments were related to the topics. It would have been a lot shorter if you would watched or listened to the show.
Yeah,
No, I don't know, Neil. I watch and listen to the show.
You get to do it 3 times.
Get to?
You get to.
Get to. Like it's a fucking privilege.
Well, you have to do it twice, but you get to 3.
You son of a bitch.